Slide 21, the end of globalisation. Whether or not globalisation is something that only exists in a post-globalised sort of sense is questionable. Globalisation, I personally believe, is probably here to stay because it continues to affect us in many ways, such as it transforms state powers. It erodes those state powers too. What we have is state governments, regional governments, such as local governments, of course, are starting to redefine their role in the market. You know, who are they going to engage with? Who are they partnering up with to provide outcomes? They're not just about roads and rates, etc. anymore. They're more partners in a collaborative effort to make sure that regions can maintain themselves into the future. But we have this increase in the power of particular businesses that have been very successful, monopoly type enterprise, but these transnational companies that extend beyond any particular state powers that any nation state may hold. We are also affected as regional communities when economic shocks occur elsewhere and the flow-on effects happen to hurt at a local level. For example, the global financial crisis that hit several years ago. And in Smithton, quite a few people felt that we weren't going to be hit by that things were going well. It was so far from Europe and America that it just really didn't matter. But, a year later, jobs were being lost left, right and centre. Work, a particular friend of mine who's an engineer, lost a lot of income in a latent effect of the global financial crisis. And in Circular Head, we're still feeling the effects of that global financial crisis. However, with some new investments, things are starting to really turn around. Unfortunately, also, globalisation, this be-all and end-all of the market, has resulted in greater socioeconomic disparities and diversity between localities. That is across the globe. The gap between the haves and the have-nots has continued to increase under globalisation. Moving on to slide 22, we're starting to bring things into our current situation, which is that knowledge has become the new advantage. It's no longer about comparative advantage. It's very much competitive advantage that is dominating the market today. So the implication for regions is that globalisation brings a shift in emphasis from the physical attributes of a firm, what it is, where it is, how big it is, and what it does, to this emphasis on how it operates in a global economy. And to understand this how, in this unit, what we're looking at is social capital, and in particular knowledge and learning as being the key drivers of competitive advantage within an associational governance and organisational context, such as the new regionalism. So, to sum up basically, slide 23, where are we? At best, the story of regional development in Australia is one of adoption and adaptation. At worst, the critique of regional development as a policy framework for regional scientists such as ourselves includes the following. Regional development theories are slow to adapt to changes on the ground. Practitioners often lead what is going on in regional development. And it's very much done by a fuzzy feeling sort of approach. This might work, let's try this. And just testing the ground, seeing how it goes. The focus on the firm really was an economic focus, based on concepts such as input-output analysis, such as what Walter Izard spent much of his life working on. But this stuff lacked the context of how, those real social dimensions to firms, etc. Institutional interventions, such as the Albury-Wodonga scheme, were ideological and expensive, and in the end, just haven't been able to be maintained. Slide 24. Comparative advantage is not sufficient anymore competitive global economies, human capital is key economic driver. The focus on the firm made regional development slow to respond to cultural and environmental challenges that constitute significant brands for regional prosperity. The example being here that whilst the consumer has wanted change, regional development has been slow to respond. Consumers often drive the opportunities that regions get to take advantage of or face, and the consequences of those opportunities as well, or lost opportunities. We then, if you can just take note of this last bit, competitive advantage has often focused regional development attention on the relative weakness of entrenched learning and knowledge frameworks at the regional level, to the detriment of a region's capacity to grow and prosper. What this means is that our competitive advantage seeking attitude in regional development has focused on the regions that aren't doing so well. You know, what are the regions that suffer a little bit in their learning and knowledge frameworks? What regions aren't being competitive? That's where we throw the money at. That's where the government decides to spend the money, because that essentially probably leads to increased votes for that kind of expenditure in those regions. Regions that suffer generally aren't very happy politically. If we throw the funds at them, possibly they'll be happier and maintain governments that are in power. That's a possibility. What we've done by doing this is neglect the regions that are shining, those regions that are forging ahead into new ground. You know, those regions that are doing the whole learning, knowledge sharing thing really, really well. They don't get the funding. They're doing fine. They don't need the help is sort of the approach we take in a regional development sense. This is something that we need to question as regional scientists and regional development practitioners. We need to question whether this is a good way to continue going. What merit does it have? So it begs the question in slide 25, where are we going? Innovation is a key component of the knowledge-based global economy and is now a central component of regional development policy and practice. Central to regional innovation and competitiveness are clustered innovation networks that are connected to territorially bounded production and innovation processes. What that point means is that, well, first of all, clustering is an important component in this new regionalism, this collaborative approach to innovation networks. But anyone attempting to undertake innovation in this context needs to understand that any attempt at new product developments, new innovation processes, etc., are bounded to the territorial factors, such as, it comes back again to those, what are the comparative advantages, what are the natural assets that people can tap into. In particular, you know, are there natural assets that are difficult for other regions to copy? You know, if another region can't copy it so well, then that gives an advantage to the region that can do it, and that can be done most effectively probably through having the right people. So herein lays the new domain of regional science, untangling and making sense of the territorialized web-like processes and socio-economic factors that contribute to the viability, success and decline of regions. That is what we need to do as regional scientists, understand what's going on, who's involved, how are they doing it. Those sorts of questions are key questions to be asking. Slide 26. What's next? To expand on this and other challenges, in this unit we will first look at new regionalism as a response to the shifting trends and emerging challenges in regional development policy and practice. We will then, in Module 2, look at regional innovation systems as regional development policy platforms. And in Module 3, we'll then go right into detail and look at innovation-based development platforms as regional development tools. Now, in addition to that, what we will be doing is looking at those innovation-based development platform methods as how we will do our assessment tasks and how we will understand this role of innovation in a regional development context. And we'll be exploring these in detail in the tutorials after lectures. During these tutorials, we will go through the processes involved in these development platforms, stage by stage, so that we have a really good solid understanding of what's going on. And that ends the lecture. Slide 27 simply asks any questions.